previously on Downshift. And it was the TRD Pro. And that truck was better, I'll tell you that for free.
The sound is honestly probably my favorite thing about the truck. I mean, just...
Interestingly enough, you get the full TRD Pro skid plate.
And it looks fantastic, honestly. We got the Heritage grille.
So I have to sit this low to the ground, so my knees hit the steering wheel less. Not none, but less.
It's definitely converting me. Like I'm enjoying how much space there is in the cabin and how it feels driving and the sound. Like it really is starting to convert me more and more.
Yeah. Now that we're hitting the trail, this is really where the Tacoma should start to come into its own. I know I complained about, oh, the Bilstein suspension is over damped for the road, and you get a lot of that like bounce and kind of strung out and kind of tense rigidness over the back axle. And that's because it's kind of on the road, and yeah, these dampers are tuned for off-road. This is the TRD Offroad, so yeah, that's kind of how it would be on the road. But now on the trail, this is where it should start to come together.
So the Tundra TRD Pro is the most off-road Tundra you can get, but honestly that's not saying much. It doesn't really come with all the bells and whistles that the 4Runner comes with, or even the Tacoma that's in front of me. You do get, you know, your 4 high, your 4 low. You have a limited slip in the back, but I mean, you don't have the rear locker, you don't have crawl control, you don't have terrain select, and those are all features that are in the Tacoma and the 4Runner. What you do have in here though are these Fox, you know, bypass shocks. They work really nice on the road and in this trail as well. You have 10.5 inches of ground clearance, which is awesome. 31-degree approach angle, 17-degree departure angle, which is honestly quite bad. Obviously that's the bed of the truck, and then also the exhausts hang fairly low, the dual exhaust that you have on here. Dude, real quick, this is like so much smoother than my Wrangler was on here.
It's probably the Fox dampers that have good rebound rates and a little bit, probably more travel. The Bilsteins on this Tacoma I think are pretty similar, if not the same, as what's on your Wrangler, and that's why this thing rides so stiff.
Dude, it feels like I'm just buttering some butter over a nice piece of toast, dude.
I am definitely a lot more rumpy bumpy with these Bilsteins. Now the nice thing about this Tacoma and its TRD off-roadness is that it gets a bunch of off-road stuff. So not only do you get the 4-wheel drive and the transfer case and the 2 speeds and 4 high, 4 low, but you also get a bunch of stuff that Polo doesn't get. So you have a multi-terrain select. I can set that to mud or sand or whatever I'm experiencing here. I also have crawl control, so if I want the Tacoma to handle my gas and brakes so I can just focus on turning and inputs that way, I can have it do that for me. And then, if I get really, really stuck, locking rear axle. Pretty nice. So all of your stuff, crawl control not available, select 4 low. So you gotta go into 4 low to use crawl control, which means I have to go into neutral, push in, go to 4 low. 4 low is now on. I have my 360 cameras on. Oh, this is really nice. I've got a pitch and roll meter, traction control off, my front radar is off. Now I can go into crawl control. Now that I'm in drive, I can go into crawl control, select low, and you can hear it working away. You can go a little bit faster than this. it's a really jarring experience to hear these things if you don't understand what's happening behind the scenes. But this is cool because I've got my front camera on. I can see exactly what's happening. I can see where my wheels and trajectory are. I've got side cameras. I know exactly where my clearances are. This is nice. I can turn it up a little bit. I can go a little bit faster than this. So, I mean, it's not even registering on my speedo. I'm now in full speed crawl control, which is, I don't know, 4-5 miles an hour. We can turn crawl control off. But that's crawl control. I turned on crawl control and like the ABS system was just going crazy. All sorts of noises. It was really jarring.
Seriously, I was telling the camera what that was, like how you just have to worry about driving and not, you know, accelerating.
Which means I can also go into multi-terrain select, and we have a pretty easy trail here. So I'm gonna go to rock and dirt. That's exactly what I need for this. But you can't access your crawl control or your multi-terrain select without being in 4 low. So you have to shift to neutral, 4 low on your little selector here, back into drive, then you can select what you need to do. So with multi-terrain select selected, the car is now reading and giving me information and adjusting itself based on what it thinks it needs as far as traction and power delivery. So still have equal torque split to my front and rear axle. I don't need to lock my diff for any reason right now. Maybe we'll try something like that later, but it's doing pretty good.
Tires, it just has some basic all-terrain Michelin's on here, and you know, they don't, me personally, I like the tires to look a bit more aggressive. So that would probably be one of the first upgrades that I do. I love the way this thing looks, except for the tires, honestly. They just look a little bit small and a little bit silly.
Now, I don't think we'll get to anything this crazy on this trail, and this is obviously Toyota's vehicle, so I don't want to beat up on it too much, but it does have a 32-degree approach angle, 23.5-degree departure angle, and a 21-degree breakover. So it's a fairly easy trail. It's really not too bad. It's that 9.4 inches of ground clearance that I kind of wish was a little bit more. And to be honest, if this were my truck, I'll give it a little power coming up this hill. Oh, it's really pretty next to this stream here. If it were my truck, I think the first modification I would do, I know I talked about the Heritage grille and that sort of thing, and yeah, there's some cosmetic stuff that I would do, but if it was just capability and just about off-roading, first thing I would do, new tires. BFG KO2 tires is what I have on the 4Runner. Shout out to BFG for hooking those up. They are fantastic, they are great on-road, and they have always gripped for me off-road. These, they're okay.
So, the Tundra, the issue with it is that it is a full-size truck, and most of the trails up here in Wisconsin actually don't allow full-size trucks on the trails, mainly because some of them share it with UTVs and ATVs, and they're just cut out for a lot smaller vehicles. So the Tacoma in this situation would be fine. We obviously know some individuals, so thank you to Tigerden for letting us come here. But it is interesting driving this thing on these trails. It is just so big to make sure every part of it stays on the trail. The lack of visibility over the front of the hood, and I mean, honestly, like the 360 parking sensors would kind of be nice in this situation as well. I don't think, you know, a week is a long enough time to get familiar with exactly where your bumper ends on, you know, on the corners, but it definitely, it feels big out here, but not too big where I'm scared to drive it.
So another nice thing is this Tacoma is narrower. It is shorter, and it has a shorter wheelbase than Paulo's Tacoma. And when you're going places like off-road parks and these designated trails that are, you know, kind of man-made and man-maintained, they tend to get pretty tight sometimes. And even, you know, we live in Wisconsin here, and there's some pretty narrow trails in the North Woods and the Nicolet Forest and stuff, and you know, that definitely is a point for me, and it makes it a little bit harder for him and his big beefy Tundra to get around. Another nice thing is I have a fantastic turning radius. And the only problem is, when I throw it in reverse, I have that dusty fishbowl reverse camera that I have to look at. That's not ideal, but it works.
Hey, be my eyes if I'm getting close.
Oh, are you a little concerned with your big beefy Tundra now on these small trails?
Bro, I'm kind of starting to get a little bit, yeah.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why, if you're gonna have a trail vehicle, the Taco is where it's at. If you have a big, like, overlanding thing and you need to bring your family, you need to bring a bunch of gear, the Tundra is where it's at. It's way more comfortable, it's softer, there's more space. But for tight technical trails with a lot of twisties and turnies, that's a lot of T's for you, Taco is where it's at.
I also completely forgot to mention when we were doing the interior and the exterior, I love the fact that you can roll down the back window. I mean, I know you can obviously do it on the 4Runner as well, but I mean, what a cool feature. And it does such a nice job of circulating the air in here. It's just like the perfect breeze. You know, Matt always actually talks about it in his 4Runner, and I like never really got it. But now that I've had this for the week, I totally get it. Yeah, it is so serene out here and beautiful. I mean, it's a gorgeous day today. Green grass, blue skies, a little bit of mud, 2 reliable Toyotas. I don't know if it gets any better than that.
So as we wrap up here, big thank you to Toyota USA and Jen for hooking this up. Thanks to Drive Shop for hooking up the cars and scheduling that. And thank you to Tigerton for letting us come out here and have a little bit of fun and test these vehicles before they go away. Coming out of the truck.